Hey kids, do you like pro wrestling? Well, we like pro wrestling too, and this week in the news, a 3-hour nightmare might finally be over. The lazy river of wrestling criticism. Are both companies too concerned with ideological capture? We're going to possibly go into that at the top of the show. And in Vader Club, unrepentant stupidity, because I needed it. Kemonito versus Kemolito. Yeah, I went there. So shake them ropes. I'm Jeff Hawkins. He's Chris Novembrino. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Jeff.
I'm a little exhausted.
I mean, yeah, like I'm a little burnt out too. We're in like the heat of the summer out here in New Mexico, and every day now I have to go out and make sure I water all the plants and everything like that. And like that, okay, that seems low maintenance, but I also have to go out there and weed. And again, all this stuff doesn't sound particularly physical, but the summer sun is brutal, even when I go out there at 9 or 10 a.m., which is like what I did today, and what I've been doing all week, and it is just making me drag ass. That 45 minutes every day, front yard, backyard, is just wiping me out, even when I do it early, because that sun is no joke.
I've been pretending to be a lawyer for the past week, and I'm not, and I'm bad at it. And it's just, I'm ready to get this whole thing done and over with. And because I'm probably going to sign an NDA, that's going to be the limit of it. But I'm going to do things a little bit out of order, Chris. I'm going to do a lazy river thing, and then I'm going to go into the news. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Because it's something I was thinking about. Because other than maybe the John Cena promo last night on SmackDown, which was at best a C+, because it was a direct, what it was it was Weird Al doing a direct parody of a song, but not getting in deep enough to really sting Punk at it. I didn't enjoy it a whole lot.
I give it a B-, but I'm kind of there with you. Like, once I realized we're just doing the pipe bomb.
We're doing the beats. We're just doing the beats here. We're not doing any real undercutting depth to it because Phil gets a little angry.
That's honestly essential to making a structure like that work, where if you're going to heavily reference a well-known text, the idea really needs to be inverting the meaning of the original text, not merely regurgitating it back at the author.
Right. We'll get into that in the rest of the Lazy River, but like through the week, nothing was just hit me very good. I mean, even like AEW, I would admit, had a hot crowd, but the show itself was kind of an Elseworlds, as I like to put it, thing. If they didn't do so many stupid branding for so many weeks, they could have branded this a 1 week thing, made it interesting, and then gone back to their build for their biggest show of the year.
I like TNA's format with this, or their classic format with these sorts of things too, where they just do a one-off in a bizarre, netherworld. And then we move back to, like I used to like their one night only format, where the one night only implied that for this particular show, the standard storyline angles are just kind of off the table and we're just doing an entertaining show with self-contained stories. They'd be better off doing that than what this was.
But as I'm watching, I'm starting to realize, at least for me as I watch these things, WWE, highly stylized product, highly stylized matches, highly stylized angles. They have the certain beats they do. They all involve people kind of standing in an arena, talking to each other while not really connecting with each other. People interfere in the other's matches. It's kind of a 50-50 thing. We get to the match, and then we move on to whoever the next opponent is. That's mostly from the top down. That's mostly from Vince. I get it. It's a formula that has worked for decades. That's their ideological capture. The ideological capture of AEW is wrestling fans' response to those patterns and rebelling against it, and also on the WWE thing, they have their image of who they think a main eventer is. You have to be kind of tall, kind of big, able to have some personality on the mic, and be able to read a script and things like that. And so when AEW was formed, a lot of their audience capture, including the owner of the company, was the wrestling that was born out of that on super indies like in Chicago, in LA with PWG, in the Pacific Northwest with Defy. It's we don't want your promos and your melodrama and your patterns. We just want the wrestling. And you know what? 5'7", 185-pound guys should be able to be world champion in our company because they're the best at what they do in the ring. It's the stuff in the ring that matters. It's the stuff in the ring that matters. Whereas in WWE, it was all about the heavy, 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 heavy. And I say this negatively so that nobody thinks I'm giving them a pass on this. You know, the big dog, Roman Reigns. You know, just the branding over and over. The man that gravity forgot. The man, blah, 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 blah. All that crap that was in there. AEW then, to the fan base at least, became that complete and total opposite. And so now we're in these two things where both groups are so stuck in what they want their company to be that they're really not giving us anything interesting. That's my opinion, Chris. I don't know if I'm correct on that.
Yeah, it's an interesting take. I mean, starting from the AEW side, I think you're onto something in the sense that so much of AEW's ideology is a reaction to Vince mid 2010s. So 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016. And this is still the shadow that they very much box against. And while WWE it's like both companies have had a reaction to that late era Vince thing. WWE, post Vince, is moving out of that. I mean, I would say like the difference between the Vince stuff and what's happening now, some of which I like, some of which I like a lot more, and some of which leaves me lukewarm, is that during Vince's era, you had branding, the man who gravity forgot, the big dog Roman Reigns, the tribal chief, and these sorts of ideas, right? And now you have a lot more character work. For example, I think, a nice beat on SmackDown this week was Damian Priest and R-Truth interaction, which paid off their dynamic from Judgment Day. You have one of the big differences I see in WWE's post-Vince reaction is we give the characters memories now. They actually can remember things that happened to them a year ago. Whereas, while AEW rejected so much of Vince's stuff, we need to have an overly large guy who does the 5 moves of doom. We need to have a guy who is great at promo and merch moving and taglines and that sort of thing. And, who can't really wrestle like a John Cena or like, I know everyone likes Randy Orton right now, but for a long time, this was an albatross around Randy. His matches were boring. That is very much the reaction. But in throwing out some of Vince's bizarre tropes, like that you need to have a Bobby Lashley looking guy to be a champion or something like that, there are certain elements that Vince is right about that, like, ultimately what makes wrestling a fake TV show, a stage show, work, and what makes an audience buy into the fake stage show that everyone comes in, buys a ticket for, knowing full well is fake, is the engaging characters who they know are fake, more than the fake stunt work. If you're going to get someone immersed, you're going to have a much easier time getting them in the door, buying into the fake characters, than buying into the fake violence.
Let me add a point here. Yes, for most wrestling, the wrestling is the end point. It's the end game. It's building up enough of a feud to get to that match. For AEW fans, the wrestling is the angle building.
And I was going to say, like, when we look at the shows, right? I mean, generally speaking, when we analyze WWE versus AEW weekly television, on WWE, we talk about a big, important promo. usually. Occasionally it's a match like Gunther versus Jey Uso, a thing that, like is kind of the centerpiece of the show. But like we're going to talk about with SmackDown, it's about this John Cena promo. They build their TV around a big talking segment, and AEW builds their weekly television the same way that they build their super shows. It's all about in-ring action all the time, no matter what. And over 5 years, we don't have much of a world to latch onto, which is how we ended up in Mexico City this week, where I'm watching these AEW guys fight a bunch of luchadors whom, yes, I saw a video package for them on Dynamite or Collision 2 weeks ago. Indeed, I did. But I could not tell you why they are doing what they are doing this week and what's going to happen to them next.
Okay. Great segue into my final point on this, because Brian Alvarez has been taking a lot of heat about wanting video packages on AEW to explain things, or at least things explained. And I took a stray from Dave Meltzer this week, and he apologized because he was just trying to be funny. He wasn't trying to attack me. But, okay...
He came off as petulant. I'll call it out.
It did come off as petulant. That's why I called him out when he said it. I said this sarcasm wasn't needed because he was talking about the WWE Bizarro World stuff when they're in Canada, and I get that.
From the 90s, which is generally a world-building narrative. No, I actually want to ruminate on Meltzer for a minute. I know that you guys have squashed the beef, so this is not to start new beef, but I think it is somewhat revelatory of a way of analyzing some of these things, which is, okay, so you're going to criticize, they should have done something like Bizarro World like they did in the 90s. We all agree that simply waving your hands and saying, oh, Canada's cheering for Brett because it's Bizarro World, and not trying to explain the morality was weak world building. If we agreed on, and that was 30 years ago, by lower standards, we thought it was weak back then, and as with the prism of time, we view it as weak still.
Well,
so
we
then
view it as go ahead.
So ahead. Then, what is our point about saying less than that in Mexico City this week?
Okay, and this is the point I wanted to get, because WWE fans, or WWE loves their video packages, and what AEW fans then respond to is, why? Because you're stupid? Do you need every little thing explained to you? Are you a child or whatever? And then it gets to that ideological capture that everybody knows everything about every wrestling company. And so this week, when Hangman Page cuts that promo in Spanish, that's kind of getting broken translated by Excalibur, and they don't tell us, I've been banned from the arena during the match, but I'll be back afterwards, because he said it in Spanish, then we don't know that that's what's coming, and we don't know how to respond to it. Likewise, when the entire hot crowd at Arena Mexico is booing one of the Atlantises for pinning FTR, and they don't explain to us that, yes, in CMLL, the Atlantises are heels, but they are also heels where even if they're getting beat up by Rudos, we boo them in kind of that Kurt Angle, you suck way, where we still are kind of cheering for the Atlantises, but we still don't
Bronx
like
cheers
them.
Sort of thing, yeah.
Yes. And if they had just explained that on television, as opposed to, I'm catching strays from, well, people who follow CMLL know this. I'm like, I don't follow CMLL. And
what is the point of having, 20 guys on commentary every week if none of them can explain to me these basic things? Am I really asking too much that the microphone guy who sits at the table, whose job it is to explain to me what I'm seeing on my screen, do his job? One of the three of them, Shivani, Excalibur, Taz, Nigel.
Yeah. I'm coming out of a movie. It's one of these comic book movies. I think it was like one of the Batman movies, and I think I was in New York at the time. And a couple of guys are talking, and one of the guys is steaming. And the other guy goes, no, that's a very important plot point from the comics. Back in the 80s, it did that. And he just stops his friend, uses the soft A version of a racial epithet, and goes, I came to a movie to watch the movie. I didn't go to no GD library to read. And I go, that's exactly my point.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. The text, this is professional wrestling. The text should be able to be understood with what is presented to me on the screen,
Yes.
with no additional augments of information. If I want deep analysis and cross-referential shit, I have Deltarune. If I want the text quad the text, I have wrestling. I watch what is on the screen. I understand everything. I don't need to go and see this match that happened 5 years ago in Japan to understand what is happening right now. I do not need to cross-reference this against the Grapes of Wrath or a King Crimson album. Yeah, right. Everything in here, Jey Uso is Jey Uso. I do not need the Grapes of Wrath to understand him.
I need a disclaimer on AEW. Please go to AEWexplains.com during the show. Our friend Chris Harrington, will be there annotating all the wrestling references you may not get.
Yeah, just kick everyone over to your subreddit and have the live thread where we are constantly offering hyperlinks so that you can understand all the subtext of this show. And also, if you don't do that, what kind of fan are you really? I mean, let's suppose that really is the business model. Obviously, it's not. It's like an absurd straw man construction. I know what I'm doing here, people. Think about how asinine that is, though. Is that really, when you look at where wrestling was 5-10 years ago, what it seemed like the market was yearning for, deeper subtextual wrestling? I feel like what people were sick of with Vince's stuff is these stupid brands that actually had no character depth.
Yes.
The big dog said suffer and succotash. He sucked. He was boring and lame. Even, man, you know, I was a late rider on the Tribal Chief stuff. I thought that was pretty weak early on. And certainly, initially, I think that was the consensus opinion. And even then, I was still a late arriver into the, buying into the Bloodline stuff. But where did that start taking off? When it started being about characters. When Paul Heyman started occupying more of a character space. When Sami Zayn occupied more of a character space.
That's a big one. I mean, people don't realize.
Sami Zayn having a character turn was a big deal.
Has made him a main eventer.
It's why people are on board with this world title.
Yes. Yeah. I mean,
it's not the work.
He was the underdog from the underground, and then he became that goofy lackey who wanted to be an Uso. And now he gets world title shots, and he's in that realm. So yeah, it's important. Let's start with some news. I'm editing as we go here because there's just crap here that isn't important. Let's start off with this. Guess who showed up at Arena Mexico on Wednesday, Chris, to for a cameo and was not advertised and was not used for ratings.
I'm gonna go with Alberto El Patron.
No, that would be Bryan Danielson, sir.
Really?
During the Worlds Collide Ring of Honor show taping, the infantry attacked Blue Panther. Shane Taylor laid out Blue Panther with a splash. Shane Taylor went to the top rope, and Bryan Danielson's music played, and out came Bryan Danielson, who hit him with a knee to save Blue Panther.
Strong usage of that contract.
F off. That's all I'm saying. I mean, go for ratings, people. Stop this. Oh, Bryan Danielson's too humble and doesn't want to be. Okay, whatever. In very, very good news, Gail Kim, who was recently let go by TNA, was backstage at this week's NXT show.
Cool.
Give her what she wants.
Yep.
Give her whatever the hell she wants and put her on this Revolution show and make her face Bayley. That's all I'm saying. That's all I want. She's phenomenal. She's a phenomenal agent. She's a phenomenal talent. She is the most underrated person in the history of women's wrestling in terms of the modern era, I think. I love her. That's great. The lead, which I originally had, was USA Network is now planning to debut the show The Rainmaker based on the John Grisham novel. I'm sorry.
Starring Kazuchika Okada.
Yes, that's the joke here, too, in parentheses. And I'm just like, do we really need to explain that to wrestling fans? Okay. On August 15th in the 10 p.m. Friday slot, so that guarantees the end of 3-hour SmackDowns on August 8th. Our long national nightmare is over. Somebody's finally not doing an overrun.
They've been, for me, they've been perfectly watchable shows.
Yes, they've been watchable. Don't get me wrong.
They've been perfectly watchable. I think certain people like Jacob Fatu have been beneficiaries of this, although we'll talk about him in a bit. I'm still kind of on the fence on him. Like, he has good moments and bad moments, but I think there's been some winners in this 3-hour thing. Dude, I don't need this much TV wrestling from these two companies every week. I need like 2-hour Raws, 2-hour SmackDowns, a 2-hour Dynamite, and if AEW wants to have a B show that I'm not going to watch, that's great. Make it an hour.
Beast Mortis having a week. This week he announced he got his law degree. Makes him a heel automatically forever. And TMZ reporting that the Beast Mortis is dating Mercedes Moné. Mazel mazel, good things.
Word. I think,
Your Honor, here's my attorney.
I think the Beast Mordo should work the lawyer stuff into his character.
We need a Mark Sterling feud.
Yes, where occasionally he serves as the lawyer in like segments and then destroys the courtroom.
He's a process server with the mascot. He's in a suit with the bull mask. Subpoena.
Him and Brian Keith. Brian Keith is the Beast Mordos, who's the lawyer, and Brian Keith is the bounty hunter.
Oh, there we go. Or unfrozen Mortos lawyer.
Yeah.
I'm just a beast.
Your Honor, I am from the fourth ring of hell. As the Beast Mordos.
Your ways frighten and confuse me.
In hell, we do not have such processes. I'm just trying to understand.
We don't have due process in hell. That's the argument here. Your Honor, my due process rights in hell have been violated by one Satan, or as John Milton might call him. No, we're so ridiculous. Liv Morgan suffered a shoulder separation as a freak accident about 6 seconds into her match with Kairi Sane on Monday. Apparently, this has kind of thrown the plans for a Revolution into a tizzy because I think it was going to be the Bellas versus Liv and Raquel Rodriguez. It appears they're kind of rectifying that possibly by putting them against Charlotte and Alexa Bliss. Is that why they're forming them as a team, Chris? Possibly.
I guess. I was a bit confused by this. Feel for Liv Morgan on the separated shoulder thing. As somebody who's dealing with that myself, I mean, I actually kind of understand what goes into that. So, like, essentially, you've got tendons there, and it's not really a matter of strength or strength training. They just are the level of strength they are, and if they go, they go. And
this was the angle of fall and all that. This was just a basic drop down that she it's one of those things, and any wrestling podcaster who knows their stuff, and I'm not saying we do in terms of the physicalness of this business, but they always tell you it's the normal little things that end up tweaking something and not the big moves, like Bailey doing the crossover drills in NXT before they're about to go hit the road again. At the Performance Center, she tears up her knee. Adam Cole coming down the ring to make a save for MJF or to attack MJF and tearing up his ankle just stepping off the ramp. It's those
Vince
things.
blowing out his quad, sliding into the ring.
Well, that might have been chemically part of a chemical usage issue. But
You
yes,
think? Wait. You think Vince is steroids?
I did not say steroids.
Oh,
I think it's more Nugenics from GNC. You know, the Frank Thomas stuff. That's how Frank Thomas got so jacked, right?
hey, he's always looking good, and he's always on those pills.
And you know, she'll like it too.
She will.
Also on Raw, Ushigoroshi was used by Corey Graves, much to the delight of Michael Cole, who's like, I haven't heard that in 8 years. Well, the story was Michael Cole, when AJ Styles came in and used it, immediately put the word on the banned list as soon as he heard it. He just wasn't going to have any of the Ushigoroshi on his very jingoistic television show, I guess, Chris, but that has now since been removed from the banned words list.
So that was Michael Cole's banned word list, not Vince's?
No. Vince McMahon's banned word list.
Vince's, yeah, right. Because I was thinking back to
I'm
when
sorry,
he said 8 years.
I should have attributed names better to actions. That's my fault.
No, you're good. Because I just, when he said the 8 years, I was thinking he was referencing back to the Beast in the East show when he might have actually said Ushigoroshi himself during that show.
Gotcha. No, but it was Vince. Vince heard it and goes, "What the hell is that? Let's never use it again."
No, like these are the commentary is another point where the post Vince reactions, at least to me as an outside observer, are very much there, where commentary is able to call the in-ring action a lot more heavily. And now that they are not being told by Vince in their ear constantly, tell a story. I have a story. You need to say this line. Here's this line. Say this about the, like, to the point where, you know, it'd be like JR or Cole or JBL. They'd be like almost like racing to get through their match script. And there's no time to call any move other than like, oh, here it comes. There's the RKO. Great match.
And our news segment, it was in a follow-up from what was hinted about earlier. It was WWE and not AEW that apparently had an issue with Miz hosting American Gladiators and the Gladiator show having current AEW talent, in particular Wardlow and Camille as gladiators on the show. Ironically, while under contract to AEW, neither has been used in forever. Anyway, filming has started, and now the question is will AEW promote its talent on the show with Miz, or would WWE promote the show because of Miz, even though it has AEW talent? A similar situation has recently arose regarding the Happy Gilmore sequel on Netflix. Obviously, Netflix will want to promote that movie on Raw, but MJF has a significant role as Adam Sandler's son, as does Becky Lynch. Such as that when WWE promotes it, it has been rumored, almost confirmed, that WWE asked for a recut trailer without MJF in it so that they can run it on Raw. And yes, believe it or not, this Monday there was no MJF in the ad that aired, even though he's in the ads everywhere else playing Happy Gilmore's son.
I mean, look, I think this to me really strikes me as both childish, but honestly, from a business standpoint, pretty counterproductive. Because I think what WWE TKO is really missing here, with this compulsion to box them out on even American Gladiators and Happy Gilmore, is that the thing that's going to bring them to American Gladiators or bring them to this Happy Gilmore remake is that they are wrestling fans and that they get this opportunity to see this weird, you know, like Bizarro land where the Miz, not that they give a shit about the Miz, but the Miz is interacting with Wardlow, current talents, Wardlow and Camille, current being the operative word here. And then over here on this Happy Gilmore movie, it's like, yeah, you have the nostalgia kick of Adam Sandler, but odds are, if you're not there for the nostalgia kick of Sandler, the idea of seeing all of these wrestlers on the show is the draw, right? Is Paul White, making a cameo on this? I'm assuming he was captain. Yeah, he's Captain Insano in the Adam Sandler universe. Like, Waterboy.
I just kind of want to take WWE to the side. And I know they're worried about market share growing in AEW.
That ain't happening, guys.
But I just want to pat them on the shoulder and go, look, to the layperson, if anybody tells them that they're a wrestler, they're going to ask how come they never saw them in WWE. Be it Camille, be it Wardlow, who are both giant people who are the kind of people WWE would love, or MJF. They're not going to go, oh no, he's with that other company that you probably have never heard of. I'm sorry, that's the truth. And I'm not trying to trigger AEW fans in any way here. I'm saying if you talk to normal people about wrestling, WWE occupies the shelf space.
Yeah.
To an inordinate amount.
And now AEW has been around long enough, 5 years, that if you are sitting at the table in TKO WWE's boardroom kind of discussing the war plan, what would be the attack strategy that AEW would have where they would all of a sudden double or triple their market share with this different, not personality-driven business model that has not shown to have this major traction, no matter how big a star they get?
Yeah. It's one of those things where I like people who know I do podcasts about wrestling send me like reels with Hogan and Flair, thinking I'll enjoy them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you don't know the history of these guys. To you guys, they're still what pro wrestling was about when you were a kid. To me, they're very gross people that I never want to hear from again. But
they're both just like vile old men who have kind of gone out of the like. Flair has almost done so much damage to the point where it's hard for me to enjoy his earlier work, but I still do. And Hogan, I never liked his stuff.
Right.
And now I would be just as happy, like even as a history, I'd be just as happy if we could somehow unwrite the history of wrestling and remove Hulk Hogan from it entirely. Like, that would make me pleased.
Lazy river of wrestling criticism, whatever we saw, whatever we watched. I got most of my. Go ahead. No, you go ahead because I got most of my stuff up at top. So you go ahead.
I'm not finished with this AEW show. I think I want to circle back to the top of this AEW card because we are now. How long has Jon Moxley and the Death Riders angle been going on now? 8 months.
About 9? That I would think.
8 or 9 months. Yeah, 9 months. It has been absolute molasses. As a progression. Nothing moves, nothing goes anywhere. And I think really when the questions arise, like, why does this TV product drag in terms of as a world? It has everything to do with the fact that the Death Riders initially came in there to clean up the squishes of the locker room, purge the weakness and the wimps from the locker room, get rid of the dregs of professional wrestling to tighten up and lean up this product. The product has not been tightened up or leaned up. I mean, absent Brody Lee's faction being, what are they called?
The Dark Order.
Dark Order. Dark Order's gone. Okay, great. Nice. I mean, those are just contracts that were going to expire. Here, the CMLL thing, this whole like invasion of Mexico City, this invasion of another promotion, should have been an awesome opportunity for the Death Riders to really assert their will as heels with a crowd that would have booed the hell out of them. Moxley, I mean, we come out and we start off with Adam Page, and he's doing his broken promo. Good effort, good effort. It's not the best TV in the world, which is kind of always the problem with these types of promos. But it's the wrong guys who should be out there. It should actually be the Death Riders saying that they have arrived to this country to purge this country of all of the squishes. If you really want to lead into it with the jingoism, once again, America's doing Mexico a big favor here. We are here to help get rid of your squishes, your wimps, your wusses, purge this weak company of all of its weaklings, and then they spend most of the show attacking CMLL guys and beating them up so that we further establish the Death Riders agenda. These guys, it's not just they don't have video packages. The video packages framing, I get how it's like a shorthand that's kind of happened accidentally, so I'm not going to ascribe malice to it, but I think it fails to capture what is absent from this show, which is an issue of motivations. And motivations could come across in video packages. They could come across in in-ring promos. They could come across with just deliberateness in terms of actions and set beats and points, beat downs, things that help world build. But right now, most of these wrestlers come out and do stuff with limited motivations. And whenever we get the big rave up promo, it's usually a baby face like a Will Ospreay coming out there and going, I need you motivated. I need you to come out here and have a friggin' reason to be doing something this time. Unlike all the other times where we're just trying to do our best, I want you to have a reason to do this, okay? If that's okay with you, dig in deep, look into your soul, think about the kids or something, and you come out here motivated, all right? And they shouldn't have to be saying that. This shouldn't be I'm getting this Dolph Ziggler shit, this I'm motivated stuff. I should know that. I should know that.
The kids,
the kids. I'm doing it for the kids.
And you know who would really help with motivations?
The kids.
But 30 years of putting very talented Mexican wrestlers in masks and treating them like geeks. They could use some motivation other than being very athletic. The reason Mike Tenay was effective in WCW and probably should have been brought in for this show is he could explain to you the motivations and the other things and the gimmicks of these luchadors, because
he even gave you a sense of character on some of these guys. Like Mike he was not afraid to come in there and say, I was talking with Psychosis backstage this week. And you make up a story. I mean, this is another way to get motivations across. You make up a backstage discussion that you had with La Parka or with Psychosis, and you get over the La Parker, this guy who's dancing on the chair right now. Oh, he's nuts. I was backstage with him, and he poured coffee on Psychosis's head and then shook my hand. Whatever it is.
By the way, first company to bring out La Parka to do something wins this whole thing. But nevertheless, yes, because what we get are these guys in masks that are very athletic. Okay, that's cool. They each have different masks. That's cool. Oh, and famous luchadors are Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero, and everybody should do tribute spots to them.
And also,
this is both companies, by the way.
And then baffling to me, AEW actually explaining what Rudos and Technicos are on the air. I get it. We're in Mexico, but do you not see person who is bothered by me criticizing this, that that's basically explaining who good guys and bad guys are on a show. We have heels and we have baby faces. Dude, once you do that, it's
well, I mean, my point is in service of the moment MJF makes the motion that he's going to take off Mystico's mask, and the moment that Excalibur goes, that's the biggest sign of disrespect in lucha. Every single CMLL talent from the back should have been storming this ring to clear out the Hurt Syndicate. That's how you make luchadors not look like geeks. How you make them look like geeks is you let MJF take off the mask, and then your talent decides to come out and try and stop him. and then they get beat up by Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin.
And also, again, Hurt Syndicate are the wrong guys to be doing this with. This should have been that demasking of a legendary luchador spot should have been done by the Death Riders, who are basically saying Moxley would have been awesome at this. This would have been a great promo. This is the garbage Sin Cara. I worked with this guy. This guy was garbage 10 years ago. He is soft. He is squishy. He falls over. He was never any good. This guy has been weak for a decade, and you're cheering of him has put him on emotional welfare for the last 5 years, and I'm cutting the cord. And then we take off his mask, and then CMLL comes out completely upset that Death Rider's trying to purge the weakness of this company. Like, they're the big bad right now, aren't they? Aren't they? Isn't the guy who has shouldn't they be? Yes. Shouldn't they be the guy who put the big title, one of your 15 titles, but the most important nominally of your 15 titles, in a suitcase so no one can see it because he has that little respect for the company? Shouldn't they be doing disrespect to all of these companies that the company you don't respect is trying to do business with? Shouldn't all the narrative be running through them? Shouldn't Marina Shafir have some degree of a personality rather than being a kitchen table dressed up in a halter top? Like, shouldn't carrying a briefcase?
You call her a kitchen table? Oh, I'm hurting. Continue, please. I may have to mute for a moment.
This is what I want from AEW. I accept your premises. Jon Moxley is the world champion. The Death Riders, therefore, are your top faction, the knights in service of the top champion. I understand this premise. Do you? Do you understand the premise you're working with here? Because right now, it feels like the Death Riders are an upper mid-card faction with an Intercontinental Championship. They are Adam Cole in the Undisputed Era messing around with the North American title in NXT. But they're not. And when you treat them as this upper mid-card faction, it leaves a complete narrative vacuum at the top of the show that you're trying to fill with Adam Page, Swerve Strickland, and Will Ospreay having an emo off every week, begging each other to feel something about something, please. If not for the kids, then for their prestige. And if not for their prestige, then for their history. And if not for their history, then for your friendship. But for the love of God, please feel something. Please. It is a beg of me, the audience.
Feel something is a big note of mine in promos and everything else. And I've said that before, here and again. It's start with an emotion and then go from there. Stop.
And instead, they're begging each other to feel an emotion rather than actually having an emotion that they're starting with.
Please be mad that somebody's taking over the company, and please be mad that you need to fight over it. And please.
How many times have we heard Jeffrey, 2 weeks from now, when I see you in Scottsdale, Arizona, at the local Civic Center, I want the real Jeffrey Hawkins.
Yes.
I want the real one. I no more of this guy. And every time we get the I want the real Jeffrey Hawkins promo, the implication is everything I've seen of Jeffrey Hawkins in the last 2 months in the ring has been the shit Jeff. I've been watching bullshit Jeff Hawkins in the ring for 2 weeks, for the last 2 months. But now, 2 weeks from now, at the Scottsdale Civic Center, connected to the library, Chris Novembrino wants the real one in the ring here, in front of 552 people, or whatever the fire marshal will allow.
We are closing in on our out in a bit, and there's not a lot to talk about, but I do want to give some time now to that John Cena promo.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good time to pivot, but I mean,
No, you're exactly correct. I have no button to put on what your rant right there, dude. It's so perfect. It's like, let's pivot to something else now because
Yeah.
I got nothing else to say.
No, let's talk about the Cena promo.
Boy, this Cena promo could have been something.
Right?
It really, look, the idea of Cena coming in and doing a pipe bomb type promo is something that the John Cena heel turn has been asking for. And to be a little real and to be not so TKO corporate or even John Cena. John Cena is a man who is a complete blank slate. You ask him about things in China, he doesn't have an opinion on China, of all things. If you've watched his interviews for movies and stuff or things like that, him coming in with Punk and CM Punk being who CM Punk is, and you just doing cutesy allusions to the Young Bucks by saying Nick Nemeth and Matt Cardona, Nick and Matt, Waka Waka, Claudio Castagnoli, CC for Colt Cabana, Waka Waka, and not bringing up things like, I mean, there are certain, everybody knows there are certain untouchable topics with CM Punk. You don't talk about AJ and you don't talk about his dog, but you don't drop a Jack Perry reference in there. You don't drop anything having to do with Brawl Out in there.
I think there's another issue here too, right? Like when we're talking about inverting the text earlier, like if you're gonna quote a well-known text, like for the love of God, if I was gonna quote the Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo, right? You can't just start regurgitating Shakespeare and say nothing new on it. You've got to be reacting off the original text and sort of inverting the meaning. And I think merely doing this against Punk was part of the mistake here. I think Cena should have been like, I hate this idea of great wrestlers. I hate this idea that I need to do a 450 splash off the top rope, when in reality, these guys need to do a 450 splash off a top rope because they're only 25% as entertaining as me. I have been able to get fans into what I do, doing a stupid fist drop while they are doing cartwheels and flips and putting themselves through tables and killing themselves. I hate this idea that murdering yourself makes you a great wrestler, when really what makes you a great wrestler is, and then he expounds on that more. I think that it needs to be more, in addition to an indictment of Punk, honestly, it needs to be a bit of an indictment to what we were saying earlier about this idea that you don't need to talk, and this idea that you can get by on just being a really good flips guy, and that the merits of the in-ring work is in and of itself enough.
I'm going to push back slightly on this because I don't know if I want that necessarily. I don't want a meta conversation on the nature of wrestling style. I more want, you do 30 different moves where I just punch a guy in the face and I pin him 1, 2, 3. I want it more in the world than a commentary on the world kind of a thing.
Okay, so I mean, you can
but
invert this to like
the
desperation of a guy who is jumping around, hopping up off the turnbuckle, flipping around, grabbing any weapon he can. I mean, you can just change the tone of this to a certain degree. That
I get what
essentially,
you're saying,
I don't need to do these things.
No, and I want to put over your thing because it's a good idea. It's one of those things that I know for me, as I rail against this more and more because I am so tired. It's like watching a movie and talking about the cinematography. I want to talk about the script kind of a thing. But I appreciate what you said and would make for interest. You know where that promo belongs is AEW. It really does in a lot of ways. The type of promo you're talking about.
Well, I mean, Moxley would actually, if this Death Riders thing had more of an arrow of direction to it, Moxley coming out there and basically saying, I hate all these flip guys because they're all desperate. They have to do their flips and jump off the top ropes and do all these extreme moves because,
interesting.
Yeah. right? To seem to engage you, to do damage to me. Whereas my knee, my suplex, my submission holds, a half Nelson from me makes people scream and squirm. And I win matches and titles.
You do 3 flips and they chant this is awesome. But you know what's awesome? My dragon sleeper putting you down.
Yep.
No
Yeah.
count. Boom. Yeah, that kind of thing.
You jump off. You're standing on the top rope. They're all cheering. You dive. They're enthralled. You fall. I put you in the STF and you tap out.
Yeah, no, and look, I said this last night. For what it was, Cena hit all the beats. And he did them well for John Cena. Like when he did the, hey, I'm breaking the fourth wall thing, I went, oh, okay, here we go. He hit all the beats. They pretty much deconstructed Punk's pipe bomb promo and told John Cena, hit this, hit this, hit this, hit this, hit this. And for that was well done. But you need to go into Punk's perceived hypocrisy on Saudi Arabia too, I think.
Yeah, they just need to go all the way in on it, right? Like
that's the point.
I'm with you too. Like the argument here, and I mean, I don't know what we're trying to do with the John Cena heel thing, but I kind of like the idea of John Cena turning whoever he's against into a hypocrite. Like basically, like being like a heel and making the other person look like a hypocrite through his own framing.
But that's what it should be, because remember the whole point
that would be
how
an
he
excellent.
got here. How he got here was being the Rock's guy and being the corporate shill. And everybody has come in and said, oh, you're just a corporate shill. You're just a corporate shill. And what John Cena's heel guy should be is turning to all these other wrestlers saying, oh,
you're the hypocrite.
You're saying I'm a corporate shill. Let's examine what you've been doing here in WWE to try to be a corporate shill. And he kind of got to that with, oh, you say you're Punk, you're Mr. TKO.
Yes.
Blah, blah, blah. He kind of, it was like one
it's
toe
right
in the
on,
water, but not all the way in.
Yeah, right. No, I know. Like, it has this weird water's edge. And I mean, it's, in part, I think they wrote themselves into a corner with the Saudi Arabia thing, because it's like, how do you really heel on Saudi Arabia without really healing on Saudi Arabia? You know what I mean? There's I'll put it this way, it's like being pregnant. There's no such thing as a little thing or a little bit pregnant. Like, if you're going to heal on Saudi Arabia, you're probably healing on them in a way they're not going to be comfortable with.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the water's edge, and I think that's why it's so unsatisfying. And it's you're criticizing Punk for doing business with Saudi Arabia, but never explaining whether it's Cena and Punk or commentary, why some people find the dynamic with Saudi Arabia to be icky.
Right, and they can't do that.
Right. But, no, I know. They picked a terrible heel here in Saudi Arabia. I mean, they picked an excellent heel, but a terrible one for them.
Although, if they ever wanted to break off relations with Saudi Arabia, Goldberg coming back right now, this would be the year. But nevertheless,
belt him and send him to Saudi Arabia. Our conquering Jewish champion.
Do not, yes. Glad you said that and not me. I have nothing else about, but finally a month or 2 months almost after John Cena's heel turn, we finally get something out of him that's interesting. And then you still look at it and it's still disappointing. I think that's the part that gets me.
I know. It keeps getting so close. And like this R-Truth and John Cena thing is so close to being interesting. It just keeps dancing around the edges of it. And it pisses me off because it could get there.
You know what it is? You know what it exactly is, one for one? Not the R-Truth part, but the John Cena part. It's Hollywood Hogan joining the NWO.
Oh, yes.
And then realize, and then him thinking he's cool because he joined the NWO. And you're like, no, that wasn't the point. The point wasn't to make you cooler, Hulk Hogan. It was to make you a bad guy.
Right. And if anything, to play honestly, like, yeah, they were so close with that one, right? Like him joining the NWO.
They were so close with that one.
Right, because initially it like Hall and Nash scan is cool, but then when you add in Hulk Hogan, this over the hill guy who is heavily balding, trying to act like he's somewhere in his early 30s still, despite visually being way beyond that. He's actually lame in Squaresville. And in 1996, he should have been the perfect target to be exceedingly lame. He thinks he's cool. He thinks the leather jacket and all that stuff makes him cool. But like everyone looks at that as dad buying a motorcycle, desperately trying to pick up chicks because he's divorced, and like you're moving out and you don't want to live with him either. No one wants to live with him. So he's doing anything to find a girl at this point. It should have been like desperate, but Hulk Hogan could never allow himself to come off as desperate, so he actually had to be cool. He actually like wanted heel Hulk Hogan to be cool, which is part of why that 96 NWO angle, despite being business changing, I think as time goes on, we look at it and go like, 6 out of 10,
it could have been
six
so
and a
much
half,
more.
right? 6.5, 7 out of 10 angle. It's not actually a 10 out of 10 angle.
If they had known where to end the story, it would have been a 10 of 10 angle. But instead, Eric Bischoff got caught up in the popularity of it and just.
It's a 10 out of 10 launch that settles into like a 6 out of 10 angle.
Look, there's nothing else interesting on modern TV this week, so let's get to Vader Club and get out of here. Yeah, I needed a good laugh, so I did Kemonito versus Kemolito. This is stupid. This match is so stupid, and I loved every second of it, and I howled and I laughed. Kemonito used to be my Twitter icon. He's a favorite of mine. That stupid stunt where he's on the apron, he gets bonked on the head, and then somebody drop kicks him into the second row is one of the most. Look, I'm sensitive to all the pain that these little people take in these hot ass costumes that they're wearing.
Right? It's. I mean, honestly, like as I get older and older, when I watch this stuff now, having reviewed so much of it, I can't help but just think about the crazy amount of toughness little people who choose to become masked luchadors have to have. Their unbelievable pain threshold. I mean, these guys taking these bumps on, cement floors with mats, hitting chairs and stuff. And these are small people. And they're not, it's not like when you're a kid and you take a duff and you can kind of just bounce back up because you're a kid. I mean,
you're
these
a
are like
50-year-old
42.
Man.
Yeah, right.
You're a 50-year-old man, but in a more compact body, and you don't bounce back like you were as a child. Yeah.
It's, I mean, these guys are, I look at them and I go like, these must just be some of the toughest bastards in the world when you really get down to it pound for pound.
They take off the mask. They got a bottle of something brown, a stogie, saying, "Don't F with me."
I know, right? Like, you know that to a man, every one of these guys has a story where they're like, yeah, man, I was in a bar one night. Someone came up to me and said, "Oh, I'm going to try it with little Pepe here." And then I whooped his ass across that bar mercilessly and
like
beat this man within an inch of his life and said, "How do you like this 3'6" ass whooping that I'm delivering onto you?"
They're like the baby from Roger Rabbit, the toughest mother.
Yeah.
They come in with this 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 girl, and some dude's like, "Hey, why are you with this little man right here?" And, "Oh, little man, let's take this crap outside." And then I cut him. That'll be the end of it right there. That said, again, this is stupid, but I love it so much, Chris. I love both these guys. And there's like a bird that Kemonito fights too somewhere. It's just this stuff is so stupid. But it's also kind of what I want my wrestling to be at times. I want my wrestling to just make me laugh occasionally so that before the main event, I can take that thing seriously. I don't need to take everything in wrestling seriously.
We're always talking about this. I think a sustaining criticism for like the AEW TV format and the WWE TV format too, to a certain degree. A not insubstantial one, I might add. Is that like I want I want a variety show out of my TV format. I want the funny match. I want the big promo. I want the funny match. I want the preliminary match with two up and coming guys who have some quality work, who I want to see, like a month from now doing a bigger thing. I want a mid card title angle, maybe a mid card title match, and I want a main event angle and something that is progressing me to whatever we're doing on the pay-per-view. And then, I want some character development along the way here. There is space on the card for all of these people, and I think a talented professional wrestler honestly should be able to kind of occupy those various notches on the card and not necessarily feel pigeonholed into one or the other. But yeah, I think the comedy stuff, no. Do I want to watch an entire show of it? No. Hence we never reviewed Chikara. But but I do like this kind of stuff from time to time. I enjoy the unrepentant stupidity. A man attempting to fight a bird is funny. In the same way, like the Ric Flair spot where he gets up and he's doing the put him up, put him there. I like those type of spots. They're goofy, they're silly. I have an appreciation for them.
Let's end it there. You've been listening to Shake Them Ropes for almost 15 years, the most hated show on the Voices of Wrestling podcasting network. I think I might use that as a tag from now on.
Honestly, I own that. We love our fan.
Jonathan Messenger. You can follow me at CrapGame13 on X. You can follow the show at Shake Them Ropes on X. We are part of the Voices of Wrestling podcasting network. I also do a show on Fight Game Media called The Dynamite Show about 20 minutes after Dynamite goes off the air, whether it's a 4-hour show, a 2.5-hour show, or a 15-minute show. 20 minutes after it goes off the air, Paul Ace Fontaine and I, there you go, Jeff, thoroughly deconstruct that week's AEW news and that show. It drops in your podcatchers for free the next morning. Chris Novembrino would like to offer you guitar lessons and the chance to do recitals.
Show enough. No, I honestly want to offer you guitar lessons. Message me up on the Instagram, DOCTOR_NOV. Subscribe to the Spotify. Album is getting mixed down right now. This is the part where it's like, oh, it's going to be out, Chris. I don't really know. It's up to Brandon on how fast he gets this stuff back to me. And then, I have to give final approval. And if I don't like a mix, I'm not just going to put out a mix because we set some sort of arbitrary deadline. But, it's coming out. I'm done recording it. I did the work. Now you have to do the work. You have to listen to it. You have to go and check out the subreddits. You have to go and look up the archival matches from 5 years ago and all of that jazz. Subscribe on Spotify, Chris Novembrino. Get guitar lessons. And you know what? Keep living.
A kitchen table with a halter top.
Kitchen table.